Okay, well, it's pretty well established that exercise is good for the brain, the noggin, the cranium. That's pretty well established. That's something I've known for quite some time. But yesterday, I was sitting around and I was kind of wondering about things. And I asked myself a question. Are there certain kinds of exercise that is more beneficial for certain ways of thinking than others? So even though exercise in general is good for the brain, it makes your brain better. And that's one of the reasons I always tell people, hey, even if you don't like it, try to find something you do at least like well enough to do on the regular basis, because it's going to make your brain better. It doesn't just make your body better, it makes your brain better. And if it makes your brain and your body better, it's going to make everything better. That's just facts of life, people. There's no getting around it. But yesterday I was asking myself that question. I was thinking, I wonder if certain kinds of exercise affect the brain in certain ways or affect certain kinds of thinking, like long-term thinking, short-term memory. For instance, how does cardiovascular exercise like running or biking affect the brain compared to strength training or stretching? Or doing something like balance training, like how does learning how to walk a tightrope or something, or riding a unicycle, both things that I've done in the past and can do fairly well. So how does working on things physically that increase your balance and coordination affect the brain? And it turns out, which is kind of what I was thinking, based on all the scientific literature I went over yesterday, and I didn't look real too deep into this. I just kind of looked it up and read a few articles, and I was like, oh, okay, this sounds like I may be onto something. That, yes, cardiovascular exercise, like running or swimming or biking, affects the brain in certain ways. I kind of forget how each one, I didn't spend a lot of time on this. I just kind of went over it to see if, okay, if there's something to this way of thinking. And this is also something I will be looking much more into in the future, because I think doing things, if I could find an exercise format to, say, make you better at abstract thinking or critical thinking based on whatever you needed, I think that would be pretty cool. Even if it's just a little bit, like maybe it only increases your ability in those certain areas by 2, 3, 4, 5%. Over time, does that do those percentage points compound over time? So in the immediate term, it may not be that much, but over time, if you can increase your thinking in certain ways, or the effectiveness of your brain in certain ways over time, how much is that going to pay off and grow and magnify and compound, essentially? Trying to think of something that this is a little beyond me. I'm going to be honest. This is not an area that I'm very familiar with. I'm not a scientist. I haven't studied this stuff academically. Most of my experience just comes from my own actual experience and thinking about ways in different ways than most people think about, especially when it comes to, diet and exercise. And just on my variety of experience, which is much more than just about anybody I've known. Most people, even if they're really into, training and fitness and bodybuilding, whatever, I've never met anybody who has my range of experience or the depth in all the different things that I've done. But that's besides the point. So what I want to get around to, what I was wondering is, because I like to write every day. I like to do a little bit of writing, and I was wondering if there's a specific kind of exercise that will make you a better writer. And it turns out that exercise in general can make you a better writer because it increases the blood flow to your brain, your noggin, your cranium, as I like to call it, which of course is going to make you write better. But what kind of exercise specifically could be better for writing, or long-term memory, or abstract thinking, which is kind of what I think writing really is. I think it's more better for long-term abstract thinking. Did that even make sense? I don't know, but whatever, we'll keep going. But with the kind of training I do, which is kind of unique, it's kind of a form of, it's body weight based, but it's not pure calisthenics, and it's more acrobatic oriented than anything. So there's a lot of gymnastic elements to it. There's a lot of combining like mobility, flexibility, and strength. And then if you do that and you just kind of keep a flow going with it, like for instance, if you do push-ups and then go right into squats, but you don't just do push-ups and squats, you do some push-ups with full range of motion until your form starts to break down, and then you go into squats. But you don't just do a bunch of squats. You really try to increase your range of motion in the squats. So you're really trying to increase how deep you can go into your squat and just how comfortably you can sit in a deep squat for extended lengths of time. So it's not just about doing a bunch of sets and reps. And those kind of some principles of how I train, and I just find that to be so much more beneficial now that I'm getting into my late 40s, pushing 50. So we got to wrap this up here. It's pretty soon. But one thing I just want to leave you with is that you can train in a way that affects your brain better in certain ways. And I just thought that was super interesting. Something I'm going to be looking into much, much more. And I think will give many more people even more reasons to start training and exercising, making their bodies stronger and healthier, because not enough people are doing it. That's the that's the battle I'm up against. And I am just starting out with this, trying to share everything I've done, everything I know, what I'm learning, how to make it all make sense to myself and to other people. And this is just something I'm going to keep doing. So anyways, that's it for now. I hope some of that made sense. I was kind of talking over my head, but that's how it's got to be sometimes. You got to push yourself. So that's it for now, people. We will talk later.